Luka Doncic is hunched over his locker in the Inuit Dome, still dripping sweat from a 39-minute game. His jersey is torn, his face is totally red, and 2 feet away, JJ Redick is pacing like a guy gearing up for a fight. Suddenly, a chair flies across the room. And it wasn't Luka who threw it. It was Redick. This was what went down after JJ Redick's press conference on the 23rd of January, 2026. That night wasn't just a loss to the Clippers. That was the night the Luka to Lakers dream officially turned into a nightmare. Because while we were watching the highlights, JJ Redick was standing in front of a microphone publicly backstabbing one of the best players on the planet. All to protect his own ego. This may be the end of the Lakers as we know it. But wait until you hear what the so-called King LeBron was doing while his superstar teammate was being fed to the Wolves. Forget the box score for a second. If you look at the stats for that game, you see the Lakers lost 112-104. Music, you see Luka put up 32 points, 11 rebounds, and 8 assists. You think, okay, tough night against the Clippers, but it's not as simple as that. The real drama started the second JJ Redick sat down at that press conference after the game. He didn't look like a coach who just lost a game. He looked like a guy who had spent the last 2 hours preparing a script. He leans into the mic, checks his expensive watch, and drops a line that effectively ended the Lakers' honeymoon phase. He told everyone that there has to be a trust factor on the team. He said, and I'm quoting him here, that it all starts with Luka.
There's got to be a trust factor with all our guys, just to, trust the pass. And, that starts with Luka. He's going to have the ball the most of everyone. He's got to trust the pass.
Notice how he didn't talk about how the Clippers bench absolutely destroyed them. He didn't mention Ivica Zubac grabbing 19 rebounds and how he as a coach needs to work with the team to work on that. No, he went straight for Luka instead. Think about how insane that is. This is JJ Redick trying to end Luka's reputation in real time. He specifically called out Luka's 38% usage rate like it's a criminal offense. He was basically gaslighting the entire world into believing the Lakers lost because Luka is a ball hog and not because the rest of the roster was shooting a pathetic 34% from 3. And here is the weirdest part of that entire press conference. LeBron James was scheduled to speak right after JJ, but he never showed up. He left the arena before the media even got inside. We're going to get into why some insiders think LeBron actually signed off on JJ's comments before he made them. But we need to look at what happened in the tunnel first. It's a textbook snake move. If you can make the superstar the villain, nobody looks at the rookie coach who let a 26-point lead slip away. The hypocrisy here is actually disgusting. This is the same JJ Redick who built a media empire on his Mind the Game podcast by acting like he was the pure basketball genius. He spent months on camera with LeBron James glazing Luka's basketball IQ. He used to say that elite playmakers have to hold the ball because they're the only ones who can see the play. But the second his own coaching record starts looking bad, he turns into a total politician. He traded his pure basketball principles for locker room politics. But here's the part the mainstream media is too scared to touch. After those cameras stopped rolling, things got even uglier in the back. I have it on good authority that Luka didn't just take that disrespect lying down. He had already seen the clips of the presser on the monitors in the tunnel, and he was waiting for JJ. He didn't wait for a private office or a morning meeting to clear the air. He allegedly confronted him right there in front of the training staff. And don't think for a second that the timing of this is an accident. I mean, the trade deadline is only 2 weeks away. So, by labeling Luka as uncoachable or not trusting the pass, JJ is giving himself an out. He's telling Rob Pelinka and the front office that his system works, but the star won't listen. He's trying to force a narrative that protects his job security, even if it means sabotaging Luka. The ultimate betrayal from a guy who is supposed to be a player's coach. Instead of calling out the guys who were actually failing, JJ chose to attack the only person who's keeping this team alive. But if you think the tunnel confrontation was the peak of the drama, you're wrong. Because what happened when those locker room doors finally closed was even crazier. Usually after a loss, there's a quiet period where guys just stare at their phones and wait for the media to let them leave. But that night, The fuse that JJ Redick lit at the press conference finally reached the powder keg. Luka Doncic was, according to inside sources, sitting at his locker with his chest still heaving from playing 39 grueling minutes. He's looking at his box score. 32 points, 11 rebounds, and 8 assists. On paper, it's a masterpiece. But then he looks over at the monitors. He sees the live feed of JJ Redick's press conference, and he hears this. Only the part where he says, "That starts with Luka." And immediately Luka snapped. As Redick entered the room with his clipboards in hand, looking like a professor ready to lecture, Luka stood up and went straight for him. According to sources inside that room, Luka shouted, "Trust who, JJ? Who exactly am I supposed to trust out there?" Redick tried to maintain his pure basketball composure, starting some talk about spacing and usage rates, but Luka wasn't hearing it. He starts calling out the hypocrisy and reportedly said, and I quote, "You want me to trust the pass? I give them the ball, and they treat it like a grenade. You want stats? Look at the effing stats." And that was where it got personal because he didn't just stay vague. He started naming names. He pointed a finger at the center of the room, specifically at DeAndre Ayton. Luka's frustration with Ayton had been brewing for weeks, but it boiled over here. He reportedly asked Ayton how a 7-footer with a Maxwell contract fumbles point-blank lobs like he did that night. I mean, look at this.
Oh my God!
Luka was so fed up he almost ran straight to the tunnel. Ayton finished the night with just 4 points. Yeah. In 20 minutes of play, the Lakers' primary big man was effectively a ghost, and he got absolutely dominated by Ivica Zubac, who hauled in 19 boards while Luka was carving up the Clippers' defense, drawing double teams and putting the ball on a silver platter for Ayton only for him to drop it or get stripped by a smaller guard. Then he turned his sights on Rui Hachimura. Rui is a fan favorite, but that night wasn't his night at all. He went 2 for 7 from 3. These weren't contested end-of-the-shot clock shots. These were wide-open shots. Luka reportedly yelled, "Rui, I trust you. I give you the ball, you miss again and again. How is that on me?" Which is totally valid, but you want to know the difference in all of this. Luka made sure all the criticism was within the team, not on live TV with millions of people watching. However, the tension reached a literal breaking point when JJ Redick tried to pull the authority card. JJ told Luka to sit down and respect the process. That was the worst thing you could say to a guy who just carried a franchise on his back for 4 quarters and still got blamed while his teammates shot a collective 33% from the floor. So, according to insiders, Luka lunged forward, but he didn't swing. This was when Marcus Smart physically stepped between them. He had to put both hands on Luka's chest, pushing him back toward his locker. Smart was reportedly shouting, "Not here. Not like this." Even as he himself looked visibly frustrated. What gets me pissed personally is how JJ Redick was out here gaslighting the entire world into thinking Luka's 38% usage rate is the problem. But the numbers tell a different story. Look at the potential assists. In this game alone, Luka had 18 potential assists. That means if his teammates simply hit the open shots he created, Luka would have finished with 18 assists. But instead, he finished with 8 because the Lakers currently rank in the bottom 10 of the NBA in three-point percentage. They are shooting a pathetic 34.8% from deep as a team. So when JJ says trust the pass, he's asking Luka to trust a group of guys who are statistically some of the worst shooters in the league. It's like asking a master chef to trust a kitchen staff that keeps burning the toast. And if you want to know how much the Lakers actually need Luka to hog the ball, just look at the on and off splits. With Luka on the floor, the Lakers have an offensive rating of 117.9, but the second he sits, the rating drops like crazy. Without Luka's gravity, the Lakers' offense is basically a headless chicken. In fact, they currently ranked 28th in points per game and 29th in assists per game. So, in the end, the locker room eventually cleared out, but the damage was permanent. As Luka left, he didn't say a word to the media beyond a few sentences, but as he walked toward the bus, he was seen stopping for a brief, tense conversation with Rob Pelinka in the hallway. No one knows exactly what was said, but witnesses say Luka looked Pelinka dead in the eye and pointed back toward the locker room where JJ was still sitting. The Luka in LA dream is officially turning into a nightmare, and everyone in that building knows it. But what if I told you all this drama didn't start from this game? Listen, if you think that alleged fight in the locker room was just about losing a random game to the Clippers, you're missing the entire plot. This wasn't some random heat of the moment thing. This was the final snap of a trap JJ Redick has been building since December. While the media was busy glazing JJ as this pure basketball genius, he has been low-key running a months-long campaign to humble Luka Doncic. It's been a psychological war. Let's go back to mid-December after that ugly loss to the Spurs. Instead of pulling his superstar aside like a real coach, JJ went straight to the mics and put Luka on blast. He told the world that the stars have to give more on defense. Now, to a casual fan, that sounds like tough love. But to us, we know the play. Funny thing is, Luka actually took the high road. He sat there and admitted JJ was right. But that was the moment the trap snapped shut. Music, by getting Luka to publicly apologize, JJ established the scapegoat. Now, every time the Lakers' defense falls apart, the fingers point at Luka. Music, the Lakers are literally bottom 5 in giving up fast break points. So JJ basically created a human shield for his own coaching failures. But here's the part that should make your blood boil, the blatant double standard. Music, have you noticed JJ has never, not once, called out LeBron for his defense? Look at the tape, man. LeBron is 41. He's in year 23, and somehow everybody is acting like things are normal with the Lakers. The guy's rocking a 119 defensive rating. Literally, one of the worst on the team. Opponents are out here treating the paint like an open-door policy when LeBron is on the floor. But JJ treats him like he's untouchable. Why? Because JJ knows exactly who signed his check. Music mean, who doesn't know that JJ Redick was only hired because of the connection he and LeBron had on his podcast before he joined the Lakers. Music, he's not just LeBron's coach, he's his podcast partner. So, he uses Luka as a punching bag to show authority because he's too scared to tell LeBron to sit games out. Music, what a joke. And don't even get me started on the tactical sabotage. Why is JJ starting DeAndre Ayton over a high-energy rim runner? We all know what Luka needs. A vertical spacer who rolls hard and catches lobs. Instead, JJ has him shackled to Ayton, a guy who wants mid-range touches and fumbles lobs like his hands are made of grease. Did you see that Mavs game on the 25th? Luka threw a perfect fast break lob and literally smoked it again. This isn't a mistake. It's intentional. JJ is forcing Luka into this slow post entry system just to strip away the magic that made him a god in Dallas. But JJ isn't just coming for Luka alone. He's throwing the whole front office under the bus, too. After the Clippers' loss, he dropped that human element line about contract anxiety. He actually blamed the team's effort on guys like Rui Hachimura, Marcus Smart, and Gabe Vincent being worried about their 2026 player options.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, again, I think it just goes back to the human element of everything. And you know, guys are worried about their futures, and that's what happens when you got a team full of free agents and player options.
Think about how toxic that is. He's basically telling Rob Pelinka, I can't coach these guys because you gave them bad contracts. He's shifting the blame again to the GM because sure, everyone else messed up apart from him. It's even crazier when you hear the rumor running through league circles that JJ is actively coaching to get players traded. The theory is he's intentionally putting guys he doesn't like, specifically Pelinka's guys, into positions where they're guaranteed to look like trash by making them look like liabilities in his system. He's forcing the front office to move them for his players. He's literally tanking his own players' value just to win a power struggle. And you don't have to just take my word for it. Just look at the math. Music, under Jason Kidd, Luka was a triple-double machine, putting up 33, 9 points and nearly 10 assists. Under JJ, he's working twice as hard for the same output. The Luka magic is being suffocated by a coach who thinks he's the smartest guy in a room. And the worst part is how LeBron is just sitting there silent. Because as long as the media is debating Luka's defense or his usage rate, they aren't talking about LeBron's declining numbers or Bronny taking up a roster spot while the team is in a crisis. LeBron is playing the long game. He's protecting his legacy and his hand-picked coach while Luka gets burned at the stake. But the locker room incident proves Luka is finally seeing the trap for what it is. Look, let's keep it 100. We've seen this movie before, and it always ends with a superstar getting blamed while the coach tries to act like he's inventing the wheel. JJ Redick calling out Luka's usage rate is the oldest trick in the book. It's exactly what the media did to James Harden in Houston. Remember that? They called Harden selfish because he held the ball for 20 seconds per music possession. But real ones know the truth. Harden wasn't being a ball hog. He was on a rescue mission. When your teammates are a bunch of role players who can't create a lick of their own offense, you have to hold the ball. And looking at this 2026 Lakers music bench, it's a desert, man. Austin Reeves, the only other guy who can actually generate a shot, hasn't played a single minute since Christmas because of that calf strain. So, who is actually generating a shot? Gabe Vincent is struggling. And the rest of these guys are play finishers, not playmakers. If Luka doesn't hold the ball, this offense doesn't just slow down, it flatlines. JJ knows this. Music, or at least he used to know this. That's what makes this so annoying. If you go back to the Mind the Game podcast clips from like 2 years ago, JJ and LeBron used to sit there with their wine bottles and spend 20 minutes glazing guys like Luka.
If you're able to get some guys that have some IQ about it as well, it unlocks even more.
It just makes it harder to guard off of all of these off-ball actions.
Yeah, and you're dealing with the best players in the world.
They literally argued that elite playmakers should have high usage because they see the matrix of the defense. But the second JJ's own win-loss record is on the line, suddenly Luka is the problem. Suddenly the usage rate is a criminal offense. And honestly, JJ is starting to remind me of the worst kind of coaches, the theory over reality guys. You guys remember Jim Boland in Chicago? The guy who treated his players like factory workers and valued his system more than actual talent. Music, or even Rick Carlisle at the end of his Dallas run. Carroll is a legend, but his my way or the highway style almost drove Luka out of the NBA entirely. Music, Carroll was so rigid about every set, every pass, and every rotation that it sucked the soul out of the game. JJ Redick was supposed to be the player's coach who fixed what Carroll broke. Music, he was supposed to be the new school guy who understood that you give a genius like Luka the keys and you stay out of the way. Instead, JJ is turning into Carroll 2.0. But on the other hand, it just makes you wonder, is this organization just uncoachable or is JJ totally in over his head? Think about it. Frank Vogel won a ring, and they fired him. Darvin Ham went to a conference final and they treated him like he didn't know how to call a timeout. Music, now we have JJ, and we're right back in the same toxic cycle. At some point, you have to realize that Redick isn't the solution. He's just the latest guy to get hired because he's boys with LeBron. And that's the real tragedy here. Luka came to LA thinking he was joining a legacy. Instead, he joined a circus where the ringleader is too busy protecting his own reputation to realize he's sabotaging the best player he's ever coached. If JJ keeps trying to tame Luka to fit some podcast theory, he's not going to win a championship. He's just going to be the guy who officially destroyed the Lakers. Look, we're 2 weeks out from the February trade deadline, and the energy around this team is straight up radioactive. You have to ask yourself, why would a rookie coach publicly backstab a top 3 player in the world right before the deadline? This isn't just coaching. Music, it's a power move to force Luka to submit to the system or push him toward the exit. There are already whispers about a Luka move if things don't change with teams like the Heat and Nets hovering like vultures. By labeling Luka as uncoachable, JJ is giving the front office an excuse to pivot if they decide the LeBron-Luka experiment is a failure. And you want to know who still believes in Luka? The Mavericks fans. Music. When the Lakers rolled into the American Airlines Center on the 24th, the Mavs fans didn't boo him. They gave him a standing ovation. They were chanting MVP while he was at the charity stripe. Think about how insane that music is. His former fans respect his greatness more than his current head coach does. So, as it stands, JJ Redick has officially lost the locker room because you cannot publicly humiliate a man who is carrying your entire franchise on his back and expect him to play at his best for you. Luka is entering his prime and JJ is acting like he's a project. If the Lakers don't fix this and fix it fast, we aren't just looking at a bad season. We're looking at the downfall of the entire franchise. So now my question is this. Is JJ Redick's massive ego going to be the literal reason Luka Doncic leaves Los Angeles? And let me know in the comments, was JJ right to call out the ball hogging, or is he just a podcaster who's way out of his depth?